It's time to spin poi like a superhero. We're going to explore one of the most unique and bizarre corners of the poi world. Drex here from Drex Factor Poi, sharing with you the love of poi spinning and flow arts to benefit your body and brain. And today, we're taking a look at poi tricks based around the Superman. Before we dive in, I just want to give a quick shout out to the friends of the channel. Big thanks to Dark Monk, Flow DNA, Flow Fests, Flow Toys, Juggling Calling, Pyroterra Light Toys, Spinballs, and Ultrapoi for helping to make the videos on this channel possible. You can learn more about all these amazing companies and the work that they're doing to support flow artists like yourself by checking out the links that I've got down in the description of this video. The Superman, or as it was originally called, the one-handed Superman, is a trick that we poi spinners have taken from the glowstringing world. A strange mixture of meteor spinning combined with wraps and bounces, plus spinning the poi in two different planes at the same time. The Superman is a unique chimera of several different poi ideas all rolled into one. I recently did a video counting down what's next once you learn the Superman and realized that I could have easily filled up that video with all of the other variants that have been given their own titles. And it was at that point when I realized that I have never done a top 5 list on Superman-based poi tricks. How did I miss this one? Anyway, I am now correcting that oversight. For the purposes of this list, I'm defining Superman-based poi moves in the following way. First, a meteor or 2 poi one-hand grip must be used. Regardless of how many poi total are being spun, 2 must be gripped in a single hand with a thumb and pinky orientation. Second, a shallow bounce or wrap must be a part of the trick. What do I mean by a shallow bounce or wrap? This is the poi wrapping just far enough around a body part for it to meaningfully stop and reverse the movement of the poi, but not far enough around that the poi tether overlaps itself. Sorry, no one-handed spiral wraps for the smart Alex out there. And finally, the trick must include a horizontal plane component. Sometimes this is done as an atomic with one poi in vertical plane while the other is in horizontal, and sometimes both poi are in a horizontal plane. You'll note that I am not requiring a trick that makes this list to have a superhero-based name. But it surely doesn't hurt. Why the emphasis on comic book-based names for these types of tricks? I do not know. And I'm not complaining. So with these 3 criteria set, let's take a look at my top 5 favorite Superman-based poi tricks. Number 5, the Tom Grigner. I'll confess I don't know the origin of this trick, but I do know that I learned it first from Tom Grigner, an Australian poi spinner who toured through the United States about 9 or 10 years ago. I first spotted Tom performing this trick almost absent-mindedly in the mirror of a live workspace that once existed in Cincinnati called the Koi Pound. The Superman had just become popular, and I found this move to be an interesting extension of it. The idea here is that you're taking the Superman and placing it into wall rather than wheel plane, and that you're adding a bounce or wrap with the thumb end of the poi, but you're still keeping it in a vertical plane. This trick is fun because you can either just riff out on it or you can use it as a transition tool to get to other poi tricks. I especially like taking it over and around my head and find it satisfying to just sit with as my mind is lost in thought. It's not as flashy as many of the other entries on this list, but for my money, it's like a familiar old comfy jacket that I like to wrap myself up in. Thanks for teaching me this one, Tom. Number 4, the Kryptonite. One of the most obvious questions people ask when learning Supermans is how to flow in and out of them. They're kind of odd ducks in the poi world after all, so what exactly do they connect with? The Kryptonite is a great missing link that goes back and forth between a standard meteor weave on one side of the body and a Superman on the other. Though I don't think it was invented to be a transition tool, I'm quite happy with how well it works as one. It's also a good exercise in plane bending with both thumb and pinky ends, as you have to swap from vertical to horizontal plane with that pinky end. And you can't do that with either a stall or a wrap in itself. Sometimes that can make this trick feel a little sloppy or uneven, but it's also a great way to break up the Superman and defy audience expectations. Learn it as a transition tool or as a cool surprise for the audience. There's no wrong answer here. Number 3, the XMan. So real talk, I was so excited to see this trick emerge specifically because it's named not after the superhero team, the X-Men, but because it's named after a fairly obscure character from the 90s that even comic book geeks sometimes forget existed. First taught to me at Winter Fire Arts by Shane De La Cruz, I think this trick appealed to me not so much for what it was, but for his awesome combo getting into it. To this day, it's a great masterclass in making unexpected wraps happen in 3D space. This is also the first time I think I learned a Superman-based move that worked completely in horizontal planes, to say nothing of keeping the poi in opposites the whole way through. This gives the XMan a much more balanced and bouncy feeling than many of the other tricks that rely on staggered timings for their wraps, to say nothing of the timing being vastly easier to get down and get proficient at. This is also my challenge to those of you out there watching. Give me more of these tricks based upon obscure comic book characters. I get a kick out of all the references. Number 2, the 3-beat Superman weave. Now I know that half of y'all out there have been waiting for a 3-poi trick, so here you go. One of the most important discoveries of realizing that there was such a thing as a 4-beat Superman was also realizing that you could add and subtract beats to each side. This also opened the door for doing some traditional poi moves that work in weave format. Just like with a 3-beat weave, you're trying to make sure that you do 2 beats on the non-native side with your thumb in poi and only 1 on the native side. The challenge is to make a 3rd poi weave through the thumb and pinky ends to complete the picture. And you know what's even cooler? You can shift that odd poi out into wall instead of wheel plane and perform the 3-beat weave in atomics. This means that you're performing a trick in which the poi is spinning in all 3 planes simultaneously, and I think it looks amazing. Now before I tell you my number 1 pick for my favorite Superman-based poi trick of all time, I'm gonna ask you to do me a favor. If you come this far, you're probably into poi tricks and poi spinning, and I would love it if you would subscribe to the channel so that you can be the first to know when I've released a new video. This also helps other people find my content, so do me a solid here, and you're helping not just me and yourself, but also other people who might want to learn how to spin poi and tell their friends how to do so as well. Thanks in advance. And now, my pick for my favorite Superman-based poi trick? Number 1, the Fantastic Four. Oh, how satisfying is this trick? Let me count the ways. First up, there's the fact that in bouncing back and forth with it, you're taking your poi planes horizontally even though your hand is moving up and down. This means that you can easily switch out of the Fantastic Four into a one-handed corkscrew if you so choose. This, of course, is a byproduct of both ends of the poi wrapping and bouncing around the legs. But that also means that this trick can do some pretty amazing things once you realize you can wrap the poi around any set of appendages on your body. One variant I'm a big fan of is doing it by switching the orientation of your feet. Just so long as there's a lead foot to wrap the lead poi around. Which foot this is doesn't actually matter. This can lead to a cool dancey variation where you switch rapidly back and forth between them, or a grapevine step. Of course, there are a huge number of variations for footwork or even other parts of the body that you can do this specific arrangement of poi bounces around. Do a quick search on YouTube and I'm sure you'll find dozens of different approaches. And if you want to learn this trick, because why would you not, I'll go ahead and link to my own tutorial on it both in the description as well as up in the cards if you're watching on YouTube. But yeah, between its versatility, danceability, and overall wow factor, I'm a big fan of the Fantastic Four, and that's why it's my favorite Superman-based poi trick of all time. Real quick, I just wanted to put out a huge thank you because this video would not be possible without the kind contributions of these wonderful folks right here. These are my Flow patrons on Patreon, and they, along with the wonderful people listed down in the description, make this video and all the videos on my channel possible. If you'd like to help me out in my mission to bring poi spinning and flow arts to the wider world and help people learn to be creative with their brains and their bodies, you can do so by heading over to patreon.com/DrexFactorPoi and signing up. You can get early access to all of my content, a say in what topics I tackle in the future, plus some great extras and behind the scenes content as well. So go check that out. Please and thank you. What did you think of my picks? Did I leave your favorite Superman variation out? Are there variants that I've never seen that you want me to check out? Drop me a comment and let me know, and also let me know what other tricks you'd like to see me do a tricks list on. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. If you dug this video, you can find a link to more tricks list videos like it down in the description or on screen if you're watching on YouTube. Be sure to get outside and get your flow on today, and I'll see you with a new video on Friday. Peace.